Okay, areas of circles and sectors. You may be a little bit in 8th grade. We learned about sectors. We didn't really do much. A sector, the easiest way to remember or think of it is it's a pie piece. So if you've got a circle and you cut out the central angle, that would be a sector. Okay? It's a section, right? Okay? So remember, the area of a circle is pi r squared. Now, if you're going to find the area of a sector, remember yesterday when you found the circumference or the distance of an arc length, you just took whatever that fraction was of the circumference, right? A sector is the same thing. If you're finding the area of a sector, you take whatever fraction that is of the whole area. So, like if this was an 80-degree angle right here, you take 80 3/60ths times pi, whatever the radius is, squared. Okay? Because the whole area would be pi times 4 squared, but we don't want the whole area, we just want 80 degrees out of the 360 degrees of the circle. That make sense? So, some of it is just finding area. Area is just pi times the radius squared. Now, I didn't point that out yesterday. There was one that it said leave in terms of pi, and there's going to be a few more of those coming up. So if they said to leave this in terms of pi, you just figure that out. So instead of writing it all, taking it times pi, you just leave it as 196 pi centimeters squared. That's in terms of pi. If you actually figured it out, it'd be 615.8, rounded. These two are the exact same value. Well, they're not exactly the same. They represent the same. It's just this one's more accurate because it hasn't been rounded. This one has been rounded. Okay? Now, finding the diameter, it's just like yesterday when they gave you the circumference and you had to find the radius. The formula area, they give us the area, equals pi r squared, right? So, same thing, to get the r by itself, you got to divide by pi, and then it's going to be one more step. What do you got to do? Square root it. So it's the square root of the area divided by pi. And that would round to 6.3. Now, they don't want the radius, they want the diameter, so what do you got to do to that? Just take it times 2. And it'd be 12.6 inches. So, area is simple. It's just pi times the radius squared. Round to the nearest tenth. Don't get fooled on this. This is the diameter, so remember you always got to use pi r squared. So the radius is 12.5, so it's pi times 12.5 squared. And then when they're looking for the diameter, you got to take the area and divide it by pi, and then you have to square root it. So the square root of 248 divided by pi is 8.88, but that's the radius. So you got to double it to find the diameter, 17.8 millimeters, since that's millimeters squared. So then the sectors. Again, it's just the same concept as yesterday. You're only finding a fraction of the circle. So the whole area of this would be pi times 5 squared. But we only want 54 degrees of it. So take that times 54 3/60ths. So it's just 54 divided by 360 times pi times 5 squared. 11.8. So this area right there is 11.8 units squared. Same thing here, you take 144 3/60 times pi times 10 squared. That's 125.7 units squared. Easy enough on those?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we got a little more complicated picture. They want the area of the shaded region. So, the whole area is a 12 by 8 rectangle. 12 times 8 is 96 inches squared. So we got to subtract off these two. Are these two going to be the same?
Yes.
Yeah, because they're vertical angles. So, you could find one and then double it, or you could just think of it as this is 216 degrees, right?
Right.
So we got to subtract off 216 of the 360 degrees times pi times the radius. What is the radius of this circle? 4, because right here it's 8, so halfway would be 4 squared. So you could punch it in exactly like this, since this is all multiplied, and you'd get the right answer. $65.8.
30.14.
You figured this out, right?
No.
Yeah. So I just did it all at once. I took the 96 minus that. Because what you figured out was this part you got to subtract from 96. So if you take 96 minus what you got, you would get the shaded area.
When I did it,
Wait.
65.856
That's
Okay? Now,